Okay, welcome everyone. This is Professor John Jack Tiani, and we are going to be talking about PowerPoint. This is an introductory PowerPoint uh, class. Assumes that you've never really actually even opened PowerPoint, but that you are familiar with the Microsoft Office applications like Word and Excel that we've covered in other classes. Because a lot of the buttons and a lot of the ribbons and things like that, the menu options, start to overlap and they start to show up in the same places. So I'm hoping that that knowledge would help make this an easier learning exercise when you start to use PowerPoint. PowerPoint is an extremely powerful tool. It's a visual tool so that it's very easy to understand, a lot more intuitive than, say, Excel and things of that sort. Okay, so let's talk about what we're going to cover today. We are going to be covering on how to plan and prepare a presentation, creating a new presentation, even with a title slide, adding some content, rearranging the content, rearranging the slides, and doing some formatting. And then in the next session, which we'll cover next week, we will go to some advanced enhancement features of how to enhance presentations. So today's how to create a basic presentation, okay? We'll also learn how to insert and modify pictures. We'll learn a little bit about smart art and word art. We'll learn a little bit about how to configure a presentation to distribute to others. Because very often we're creating these presentations not for ourselves, but for presenting or sending to external audiences, perhaps a boss, a client, so on and so forth, okay? And then we'll talk about slideshows. So just an introduction to PowerPoint. We are looking at a PowerPoint slide, okay? You can do a lot of different things. You can create title slides. You can create a caption with pictures. You can create a title and content slides. You can create some flow diagrams like the one on the bottom that shows enhancing a presentation. You can consider adding, for instance, images, smart art diagrams, and so on. So you can see that on the bottom right, we got a small slide that actually shows my thought, or just I'm trying to get a thought across on what you can enhance in a presentation, and I'm doing that with a picture, right, or a set of objects on a slide. So there's many things you can do to convey your message. Creating a PowerPoint slide presentation is different from a Word document or an Excel document. Word and Excel have a lot of details that you're trying to communicate. PowerPoint is when you're trying to simplify those details and trying to send a message across to your audience, right? So very often people use all three tools in conjunction with each other. So as we plan and prepare a presentation, we have themes, we have thumbnails, we have templates, we have quick starters. What are these? A theme, right, in PowerPoint is a predetermined set of colors, fonts, and effects. It's like a package. You can select a theme and PowerPoint will create all of the slides using those themes so that they're consistent. You can also do a thumbnail view where you can see miniature of slide. What I showed you earlier was in essence a thumbnail view because you've got 4 slides into one, right? You can create a template. A template is to use for the future. You can make fonts consistent in a template. You can use colors, design elements, and suggested content. You can save the template for a later date. For example, if your organization is trying to create newsletters weekly, perhaps you can create a weekly newsletter that's good for your organization, that is approved by your marketing folks, your marketing department, perhaps the management. And then once that template's approved, you can actually use that template and distribute that template to other people in the organization that might be responsible for creating those newsletters. And this way, the newsletter from week to week is consistent and easy to develop. There are quick starters, which creates a collection of slides and provides suggestions on how to go about creating a great presentation. Okay, so here it is. When you go to home, you see that you can create a blank presentation. You can create a built-in theme. You can use a quick starter, what have you. On the bottom, you'll normally see if you're running the latest version of PowerPoint and Windows, for example. And again, I'm only talking about Windows in this discussion. Many of you will be using Apple computers. That's fine. Pretty much the concepts are the same. The buttons and the screens might look a little different, okay? You can search here to get started. For example, if you're trying to get into Quick Start, this can help you discover ideas. Like, for example, if you want to search for a bicycle picture, you just type in bicycle safety and you get a lot of suggestions. You can then add that into your presentations. You have a boardroom theme, for example. This is the Ion boardroom theme, and you can have variations of that depending on the color you want. And this will set the stage for you in a straightforward way, okay? And then you don't have to create these colors yourself. It actually comes in the theme. Here's a titled slide, for example, that comes with this theme. There's a placeholder. It just says click to add title. So you just click there and you can type away your title, whatever title you need to have in your presentation. Remember, before you go to actually create a PowerPoint presentation, you should have a plan. You should have an idea, a vision of what your PowerPoint would look like, right? In the case of a classroom situation like this PowerPoint class that we're running, you know, you'll be given homework assignments and you'll be given exercises, so it'll tell you what title to use. But in the real world, when you're trying to use a tool like PowerPoint, you want to have a vision or a plan for how you want to lay out your slides, right? Before, and then as you go through the process, you can select the right themes, the right colors that suit your vision and that matches your vision, okay? There's also a subtitle placeholder in this format, so you can use that. Placeholders have, you know, sizing handles and a rotational handle. So each of these placeholders you can turn around, you can twist, you can actually, when you select that object, you will see that it gives you an option to rotate that object, and you can also resize those objects. You can create numbered lists, you can create bullet lists, which are the same that we covered in Word, except you can do it in PowerPoint. Here's a sample slide that shows you a title, a slide heading. Call it the overview page, and then you have a bulleted list of content that's being displayed. On the right side, you get an opportunity to reuse slides. You can retain formatting from other slides that you've already created, and it's just a fantastic way to grab the formatting and stuff from a previous presentation or a previous slide that you've already coded up. You can view, rearrange, and delete slides, right? You can have the following presentation views: a normal view, an outline view, a slide sorter view. I like using the slide sorter view because it can move around the slides and sort them in different order, right? There's also a notes page, so you can create notes for yourself. So when you're presenting in a public forum, you might want one computer to have notes on it, the other computer to have the actual slides. And there's a presentation view for that that's called the notes page view. You can have a reading view, and you can also have the slideshow view. The slideshow view is when you present your slideshow at the end, after everything is done. You use the slideshow view. Slideshow views display your presentations full screen, one slide at a time for your audience. Just like I'm doing now. My slides were not presentation view before, right? They were, I had the slide sorter view. When I clicked the presentation view, it shows the slide on full, and then I did my screen share on the WebEx, right? So that's why you're seeing a full screen now. You're seeing a slideshow view of my slides. You can also look at the slide in this way, which is the notes view, where you can see this left side, you can see the slide's thumbnails, then you see the current slide, and on the bottom you see the notes pane. You can also format slide content. You can use, once you're on that page that I just showed you, this page, you will see on the top you have different colors, fonts, effects that you can apply to slides very easily. Once you select that, it applies it to all your slides unless you choose differently. But this is a great way, so you don't have to color each slide. You can make all the slides consistent. there's a design tab. You see these tabs, these colors when you click on the design tab, and then the same thing for fonts. And you also have a font gallery, which means it makes it easier for you to select the fonts. By the way, when you click on this gallery before you select any of the fonts, it actually, if you hover over it and just click on one of these, it'll show your object changing in real time, so you can actually see what it looks like before you finalize, which is a wonderful feature. Previous versions of PowerPoint did not have that, but in the last few versions, they've had this probably about 5 or 7 years. Before that, it didn't have this level of sophistication. So it's almost like I can't believe we had anything differently, because you get so used to the conveniences that the new versions offer you. There's different slide layouts. There's a title slide layout. There's a title and content layout. There's a section header. There's a to content. There's a comparison slide layout. These are just different slide layouts to offer different views and different, because you don't want your title slide layout. You can't really effectively use that for content because it's meant for the first slide, like for the title slide. So it gives you different slide contents and that you can save for later use, right? And you can format each of these slide layouts differently based on what you have vision to do in your organization or for your needs. Now we shift gears to themes. You can, when you create a layout, you can create any of these, you can pick, and you have so many different options, right? You can pick title slide, you can pick title with content, you can pick section header, and so on. When formatting, it's always best to remember some of these guidelines, okay? You don't want to create, you want to create flashy presentations, but you don't want to create distracting presentations. I can't tell you how many times I've been in corporate meetings or in, team meetings where there's a lot of jazziness that's been built in, and then it distracts from the messaging. So you got to avoid using too much of underlined text, too much all caps. Use italics and boldface sparingly when you want to raise a point, when you want to highlight something, you use these. If everything was in italics and bold, no one's going to take you seriously when you really want to highlight something, right? Be consistent. It's very distracting to see inconsistencies in formatting, in letter case choices, and so on. And avoid leaving a single word hanging on a line of its own. If kind of like what it's doing right now. You see, that's not really. I put that there intentionally. What I would have done is created a smaller font so that word "own" on the last bullet shows up on the same line. It's not very aesthetically pleasing when you have one word hanging out on its own, just like the last bullet here. Okay, so you can resize it and use the right templates, right format to create crisper slide content. You get used to that once you start creating many presentations. You can insert and modify pictures, like I said. You can create you can insert a bitmap, a GIF file, a JPEG, a PIC file. I am assuming people know what these are, but these are different types of pictures. You can also insert videos, right? You can insert clips, you can insert motion stuff. You can do a lot of different things, all right? Insert all kinds of objects to make your PowerPoints come to life. So when you insert pictures, like when you have this slide layout, for instance, it shows you, and you can just click on the picture icon if that's what you want to start with, and it'll help you add a picture right from there. Now remember, when you're doing putting content from the internet, you've got to pay attention to some basic fundamental rules and avoid plagiarism and avoid infringement of copyrights. If work is copyrighted, it provides legal protection to a written or artistic work that's out there. So many pictures that you find on Google, if you put them in your PowerPoint, you might be violating copyright rules, because every picture on Google Images, for example, or anywhere, you can see the rights that the author is giving you. And you can actually do a filter if you want to do free pictures, the pictures you can use, you can actually filter Google Images for free pictures. They're not as nice, that's why they're free. But you have to be careful of not getting yourself into copyright infringement. Copyright infringement is when you use somebody's content without getting permission. Okay? If it's public domain stuff, that means the author gives you the right to freely reproduce and distribute their material. And like I said, when you search for Google Images, you can actually specify that in the filter that give me public domain, give me stuff that's not restricted, and it'll only show you pictures that you're able to use without copyright infringement. A Creative Commons licensing system has been created. That's when an author specifies which rights they reserve and which rights they waive. And so most of these search engines like Bing and so on have that. You can insert, when you insert the picture, you can definitely modify the picture. You can crop, you can create, you can edit the picture by highlighting it. You can lighten, darken it, increase contrast, increase colors. All of those features, it gives you directly in PowerPoint when you say format picture. You'll get a different option on the top ribbon, format picture. You get all of the things you can do. It's very nifty. Years ago, we had to do the formatting outside PowerPoint, but then, as I mentioned earlier, PowerPoint and all of these tools have been getting very integrated. So they have an integrated picture picture formatting facility built in. I mean, of course, basic, but I find that 99% of what I want to do with pictures, when I add them in to my PowerPoint, PowerPoint already has. I don't have to do things in Adobe or anything outside of this tool. So here's an example of cropping. You get, when you hit the crop button, it gives you these crop handles, which means you can drag and drop, and you can see how this picture is being cropped in relation to the actual picture, the full picture. And that, because the areas to be cropped out will appear in gray, for example, and the portion of the picture that will be reviewed after cropping is shown in between these crop handles. So very nice, easy way to crop pictures, for example. Again, you can do different things. You can relax the perspective. You can add a lot of different effects. You can do an oval shape. I use oval, and I use this soft edge rectangle on the bottom right to move out the picture on the edges. I find that looks a lot better in my presentations. I almost never use a thick matte, black matte, although you can, and you can color these mattes as well. Lots of different things. We're not going to go through every single thing here in the I'm just trying to give you an idea. Smart Art and Word Art are two other features that have been around for probably 10 or so years, 10 or 15 years maybe in these applications. Before that, we didn't have it. Remember, PowerPoint and Word are like, and Excel are like at least 35 years old now, 30 years old. So maybe not 30, but maybe, yeah, they're old. I mean, they've been around for decades, right? These tools, but they improve every year, right? So Smart Art is something that you can add that communicates information visually with graphics. The graphics are built in. It's so nice. I use this all the time. You have different Smart Art types. You can create lists, process, cycles, hierarchy diagrams, relationship diagrams, and so on. It gives you different ways of showing and communicating your thought using pictures. And the nice thing is you don't have to create the pictures yourself. PowerPoint does it for you, right? That's the neat way. There's also more that I want to show you here: matrix, pyramid, pictures, and you got so many other layouts that are available online under office.com. So how do you add a Smart Art or a Word Art? I'll talk about Word Art in a minute, but Smart Art, you just go to the Smart Art menu up top, and once you type some things, you can even do a convert to Smart Art, and it tells you what pictures it's going to try to create, and it literally just creates the graphic from what you've typed on the slide. For instance, let me show you. I can't really show you here, but you can see in this graphic the different things. If I were to select on here this pyramid, the one on the bottom, okay, all of my points that I have here will show up in this pyramid format. Now, PowerPoint is just trying to use some artificial intelligence to guess on how to best show your material. It may not always get it right, but I'll tell you, it's 90% right. And then I just go tweak it and make it more perfect or more suitable for what I want to communicate and how I want to communicate. But it does the heavy lifting for me. Word Art is similar to Smart Art, except you add words with predefined formats. So you can do a same thing. You create like this link that says, or sorry, this label that says questions. It's a placeholder. Select it to convert to Word art, and then you just do convert, and it creates it. And you can see how it changed the text effect of the same word questions into something more stylistic. And you can do curves, and you can do focus in, focus out. Beautiful stuff with Word, and really add a level of dynamic views or visuals to your presentations. So that, my dear friends, is a basic introduction to PowerPoint. We spent about 20 minutes talking about it. I'm going to stop the recorder here and then take some questions if you have any. I'm going to encourage you, once the recording is available, to view this again and a little bit more slowly, and also pause the videos as you go along and try things out that you see here, right? You didn't have time to try it out right now, but you can go as homework, go and try it, right, yourself, and hit the pause button on the recording once the recording is out and available, and try to get better at it, try to get more comfortable. Like I said, with all of these tools, it's really a function of how much you try and how much you do the exercises to make sure that the learning gets ingrained. This is a very trial and error. You can't just watch a presentation and learn it. You watch it initially to get a view of it, sit back, relax, and watch the presentation, and then go ahead and try it, okay? So let me stop the recording. Thank you very much for listening, and then I'll take questions.